You're listening to A Strange Arrangement.
This is the show where each week we bring in a different artist to rearrange the same song. We've been working with Auld Lang Syne as of late, the New Year song. They change the melody, the harmony, the chords, the style, or all of the above, and make a new arrangement of it. And this is Priyanka Akhilan. I was in the middle of one of my 30-minute sessions scrolling through TikTok when I came across this video that you're hearing now. It had a caption: adding unnecessary Carnatic interludes to songs. Part 9. I watched it a few times and I was blown away by how smoothly she was able to riff and improvise on this song. And then I wanted to see what other songs she was doing this with too. With scrolling through her feed, I was finding Carnatic interludes to songs by Lil Nas X, BTS, Doja Cat. She was mashing these genres together and it sounded excellent. And in between these videos of her performances, she also has many more that go into detail about Indian Carnatic music as a whole. How it is counted, how it's written, defining the terms. These are up-close shots filmed on a couch, in the mirror, or sitting on the floor. And what is great about these videos is that, apart from being well explained, they feel so inviting. It feels like you're having an intimate conversation with someone who's really enthusiastic about what they do. Someone who is willing and able to explain it clearly while meeting you where you are. I knew I had to invite her on the show. For one, she is a talented artist and music teacher who is already doing in her videos what we are working on this show, rearranging songs. And two, because the systems behind Indian Carnatic music are so different from the Eurocentric systems by which Auld Lang Syne was written, and it would be great to see how this song can be adapted using a whole different method of music, if at all. What things carry over? What doesn't? Can the dignity and essence of Indian Carnatic style and the origins of Auld Lang Syne coexist authentically? Priyanka was gracious enough not only to offer her time into making the arrangement today, but to have a long conversation with me about how to approach this. And I learned a lot about the terminology and history behind Carnatic music. And so because I am not the expert on this one, I'm going to let her take it from here. She's done an amazing job with the arrangement here, and explains things better than I ever could. So, here's Priyanka.
Hi there, my name is Priyanka Akhilan, and I'm a singer who has been training in Carnatic or Carnatic music for the past 18 or so years. Today I'll be talking about Carnatic music in general and also discussing how a Carnatic musician like myself would interpret a piece in our style. Carnatic music, or South Indian classical music, is an ancient traditional form of music that originated in South India. It's one of two classical musical systems from India, the other being Hindustani music, and that one comes from northern India. Hindustani and Carnatic share many similar concepts, but the overall execution is quite different. If you're interested, I urge you to Google both, watch a few seconds of a typical concert, and I assure you the differences will be quite noticeable. The main difference between Carnatic and the Western classical system is that Carnatic music relies heavily on melody with little to no concept of harmony. Now, this really changes the way we interpret pieces in the style because all the changes are really going to only be happening to the main melody. A very fundamental part of Carnatic music is the idea of a raga. A raga is a type of melodic framework and consists of a set of ascending and descending notes, much like a scale. The difference is that ragas can be sung at any key, and they can have a varying combination and number of notes. So this means that there's actually an unlimited number of ragas, or we say there is because we don't actually know the full number of how many there are. Other people have said that ragas kind of correspond to modes in the Western classical system, but there is no known exact equivalent of a raga in Western classical music. When I'm trying to interpret or transform a piece into a Carnatic style, I usually start humming along to the tune and subconsciously looking for what ragas sort of fit the tone of the piece and match the kind of notes that are in it. The piece we're going to be working with today is Auld Lang Syne. Now, this piece is in a pentatonic scale, which makes it quite easy for me to interpret because there is actually a direct equivalent of that scale in the Carnatic system. So the raga we'll be working with is called Mohanam. Mohanam's ascending and descending scales sound like this. Sa ri ga pa da sa sa da pa ga ri sa. In Western solfege, Mohanam would be like this. Do, re, mi, so, la, do, la, so, mi, re, do. As you might have noticed, Mohanam's scale sounds quite different from the way the Western solfege sounds, even though I was singing the exact same notes. The reason for this is because of what we call a gamaka. A gamaka is essentially a shake, curve, or embellishment that we use to accentuate our notes. Each raga has its own set of gamakas, and they apply to particular notes in order to achieve a uniqueness in each raga. In Mohanam, the most prominent gamakas apply to ri and da, or re and la. When traveling from ri to ga, I'm actually oscillating between ri and ga. So instead of going sa ri ga, I'm actually singing sa ri ga. That ri is gari 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 ri ga. Or in Western solfege, mi re mi re mi re mi re. This same gamaka applies to da as well. When I'm going from da to sa, I'm oscillating between the two notes. Da sa sa da sa da sa da sa da sa. Same thing in Western solfege, it would be do la do la do la do. So now that you know how these gamakas are kind of applied in Mohanam ragam, we're going to be using them in order to transform Auld Lang Syne to something with a Carnatic influence. Instead of using harmony, because we don't really use harmony in Carnatic music, we're going to be changing the melody with these inflections and gamakas. So Auld Lang Syne starts off like this. I'm going to be singing it in G sharp. Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? So as you'll notice, the notes are more or less static, and we just go from one note to the next. It's kind of like steps. In Carnatic music, we gotta really connect those notes together, and that's what the whole idea of a gamaka is, to just really curve it to the next note, as opposed to just stepping onto the next note. So, for example, in that very first line, should old acquaintance be forgot? What I'm going to do in the beginning is, the beginning notes are riga sa in Carnatic notation, and so should old, I'm going to add a little gamaka there. So should old acquaintance be forgot? We can leave the rest as is. With gamakas, you don't want to overdo it, so some places it'll be best to just leave it alone. So I'm going to leave the rest alone. Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? The only thing I added here was to mind the. So again, remember when I talked about the gamakas, ri and da are quite important. So we emphasize the ri at the very beginning, should all, and then now at the end of this line, the da. So mind. So we added a little bit of a shake there to kind of give it that Mohanam feel. So the full line would be, should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Now, if you wanted to be extra, you could add even more gamakas. So, brought to mind. So I emphasize the two here, and here we're just going up a little bit of a scent. So to. So we're just going up the scale kind of, and just giving a little bit of a faster gamaka. And that's a little bit of an extra thing. You don't really have to do that. Now the next line goes a little something like this. Should old acquaintance be forgot and days of old lang syne. Now the second line gives us some stuff to work with because we're dipping into that lower register, so we can kind of showcase the gamakas there as well. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of a gamaka at the very beginning. Should old acquaintance the burger. You want to kind of show that shake on the ga. The should old acquaintance be forgot, and days of old lang syne. So what I did in that lower register was a little bit of, again, kind of going up the octave and just giving that the gamakas accordingly. So, and days of old lang syne, da ba da sa, which I give it a little mohanam kind of gamaka here, da ba da sa sa lang syne. As always, you can go a little more intense with the gamakas, and in Carnatic music, often songs will have a set of like variations that get increasingly more and more gamaka heavy. So it's quite common when you repeat lines in songs. So for instance, this could eventually become like, should old acquaintance be forgot, and days of old lang syne. So it's kind of making it, giving it a even more elongated gamaka. Again, the notation for that is so we're kind of just playing around with the notes there in Mohanam. Now the third line kind of presents the most Carnatic influence to me, just because I feel like there are spots where you can really just emphasize the gamakas. It sounds like there's already a hint of a gamaka there, and I'll show you what I mean. For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne. So in Carnatic notation, we're starting off with the here. So the baga for old. So we want to emphasize that the at the beginning. For old lang syne, lang. So again, that gamaka at the end. So it's like goody gaza lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne. So we're gonna go up a little bit, not make it too obvious, but lang syne, and so goody gapada. So that's kind of how that one would go. You can be a little more extra and add more stuff if you want. For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne. So you can really change the tune if you wanted to and add like an extra kind of thing and go hit that high do or high sa. That's like something you could do later if you wanted as another variation. So the fourth line is quite similar in melody to the second line, so the gamakas are also going to be kind of the same. We'll take a cup of kindness yet for days of old lang syne. So in this line we start off with da again. Da ba, we'll take da ba. And so you want to emphasize that da. So we'll take a cup. This part is interesting because we kind of go away from the pentatonic scale for a second. That O, oh kindness yet. That O is actually maga, so or fa in Western solfege. So as you might already realize, Mohanam doesn't have a ma, so it's the scale is sa ri ga pa da sa. We skip over ma, sa ri ga ma, right? So do re mi fa. So we don't have that. So this is just a little bit of an addition. So because it's in here, might as well accentuate it. So we'll take a cup of kindness yet. So that O, it's easy to do gamakas when you have like open mouth syllables. So that O, we want to take advantage of that and give it a little bit of a oomph factor. So oh, and so we're kind of going away from Mohanam here, but that's okay. So we'll take a cup of kindness yet for days of old lang syne. So again, in that second line, it's kind of the same thing again. We'll take a cup of kindness yet for days of old lang syne. And so you can end it off like that. You can even go a little extra as usual and go even more crazy with the gamakas if you want. for days of old lang syne. So you can, especially at the ends of songs, people will add more gamakas just to like kind of, you're gonna end it off. So it's a little bit of a different variation. So you can always do that with any of these lines, to be honest. But yeah. So there you have it. That is Auld Lang Syne, with a little bit of a Carnatic twist. And just to recap, again, we kind of really only did stuff with the melody, because Carnatic music is a very melodic system. There's really no harmony or concept of harmony in it. And yeah, I think the idea of adding gamakas and inflections really can change the tone of the piece and make it sound a little more Indian as opposed to Western, or Scottish in this case. Hope you enjoyed what I had to share. Just wanted to give a thank you to Rob for letting me be on this podcast and to share my music, and to have the opportunity to participate in this exercise, which is really fun.
And now here's the whole arrangement.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and days of old lang syne? For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll take a couple kindness yet for days of old lang syne.
A big, big, big thanks to Priyanka. She did an amazing job, and I hope we can blow up her social media accounts so she gets the attention that she deserves. So Priyanka, where can people find you?
You can check me out on TikTok at Priyakhil. So that's Priakhil. Same thing on Instagram. My music account on Instagram is Priyakhil Music. So Priakhil and music right after it. So yeah, I'll be on those platforms. I have a couple of projects coming out, but once they are out, I will definitely post on those platforms about it. So it's TikTok and Instagram. But yes, thank you again, and hope you guys enjoyed.
A Strange Arrangement was produced by me, Rob McCarthy. I edit and mix the show, and I made our theme music. Our artwork was done by Daniel Joel Newman. You can find more of his artwork at danieljoelnewman.com. Special thanks to Brian Watson and Rob Hom for notes, and an extra special thanks to Elizabeth Stahl for notes and for the voice that you hear at the top of the show. If you like the show and want to support us, please go to Apple Podcasts and leave a review, or you can go to our website asamusicpodcast.com, and you can leave a comment under each episode. Let me know what you like, what you didn't like, what you want to see more of. Thank you so much for listening to the episode today. Be sure to join us next time where we do, well, this. This is next time on A Strange Arrangement.